Man, oh me, boy. We had a lot of close calls this past Saturday, not just for my team in Oklahoma, and just numerous teams. This was like week two was like a wake up call for a lot of teams, and it was and I think it was a late wake up call for most. As I even got my little con time Deion Sanders bullshit shades on, so I can see through the bullshit today, because there's a lot of it out there. As you know, con time is going to be the source of a few topics today, because he himself. Let me go ahead and take these off, because I'm starting to feel a little bit like I got bullshit coming out of me. But that's going to be one of the topics today. Oh, con time. I'm going to bring his little press conference up. And then also got a clip of his son. They like to call him Shadir Sanders. I like to call him Sakazulu Sanders. He left the field about 2 or 3 minutes left to go in the game. Damn, I thought this was a team effort. I thought you were supposed to stay around with you guys and not leave them behind until the end of the game, man. What happened to all that? That's what I'm saying with Deion Sanders and his sons, man. That daddy ball and that nepotism, it's just epically out there, and it's not a good look for con time. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about how Nebraska basically spanked their ass. I would have liked to see Nebraska score a few more points. And then we'll talk about, like I said, all the upsets that occurred. There's a few upsets today or yesterday. And then there was a couple of games that were really close, and a lot of people out there. I can't even speak now. A lot of people out there that are fans of teams that barely won are losing their bowels left and right. My Alabama fans, the Oklahoma Sooner fans are losing their bowels over barely beating Houston. Penn State barely got by Bowling Green. Here, I got a list right here for everybody. I'm trying to wait for a few more people to get up in here so they can maybe calm their feathers a little bit. Now, granted, Alabama didn't look good. Oklahoma didn't look good. Penn State didn't look good. Who else? Alabama, here it says Alabama, Oklahoma, Penn State, Oregon. Struggled again. I don't know if I can defend Oregon too much today, because they struggled with Idaho and then they struggled with Boise State. But if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time they've ever beat Boise State. Just a little history knowledge there, a little nugget for y'all to take home with you. I think that was Oregon's first win over Boise State. I could be wrong. Kansas State struggled with Tulane again. Tulane beat them last year, and they almost beat them again this year. Tulane looks like a strong G5 school and a strong contender for that G5 spot. LSU struggled again. Last week, as you know, they got beat in what was really considered the game of the week by USC. But like I said, man, let's wait to see how good LSU is before we start talking about the Skittle shitters are back, when it didn't look too good against, what was it, Nicholls State? LSU struggled. Arizona struggled against Northern Arizona. So please calm your feathers, folks. It's going to be all right. You're going to have these games, these bad games where a team that you're not supposed to struggle with, you struggle with. It happens to everybody. It ain't just specific to your team. So quit being a spastic about it and coming on these damn groups and saying, oh, they need to bench Jackson Arnold, or they need to fire the offensive coordinator, or they need to fire the defensive coordinator, or they need to fire the coach. They need to fire somebody. Fire. That's all I've been hearing, man. Fire someone, bench somebody. Fire, bench. But, there is some cases and points to be made where there might be some change that may be needed. Like on the Oregon side of things. They struggled with Idaho and they struggled with Boise. So they may need to check themselves. If you struggle 2 or 3 weeks in a row, then, there's something wrong. But like for Alabama, for our situation, Fromby, the offensive tackle, offensive guard, he got called 4 or 5 times for holding. Basically almost cost us the game against South Florida until they took him out in the fourth quarter. Probably should have took him out at halftime and put that guy in there. But Yeah, it's just been one thing after another this week. This week was a weird week, man. I believe if I didn't know any better, I would say there was 2 full moons out. Well, let's see who's up in here. The Duck Knight says, I remember Bama nearly lost to South Florida last year and went on to have a great season. Exactly. Same thing can be said about Oregon. The focus just ain't there, folks. It's just not going to be. I mean, you can say whatever you want to them players. They're not going to focus the same as they would on a Wisconsin or a Georgia, or in Oregon's case, like an Ohio State or a USC or somebody like that. I'm not even sure if y'all play those guys this year. I'm just saying. Usually, yeah, those are opponents that you play each and every year. See who else is up in the house. Larry Trowicki's in the house. He says, my Cornhuskers destroy the Sanders boys. Yeah, they put one out of commission, and one of them just tapped the hell out and walked off the field with about 2 or 3 minutes left to go in the game. So, yeah, I was trying to find that Oregon game. It's funny you talk about that. Oregon and Boise State should have been on primetime, not Peacock. Yeah, that's true. I couldn't find that game. I was trying to watch it. Larry Trowicki says 19-year-old Dylan Raiola outplayed Superman Sanders. Well, I don't call him that, Larry. I call him Sakazulu because that's what he does. He gets sacked a lot. And you'll see in Deion's little press conference, he said it without saying it, sort of said it without saying it, instead said it anyway. He blamed the offensive line for the struggles of Sakazulu Sanders. And it may be their fault, but that falls on the coaches once again to get out there and recruit some offensive linemen for your players. Zach Hemmer says Brent Venables seriously needs to have a leash on these boys. Those hot tempers almost cost us the game. Yeah, I can understand that. Alabama had a lot of crazy-ass stuff happen to them in their game against South Florida. We had 3 turnovers. We had one where we was inside the 3-yard line. One on a kickoff return that was going to put us in amazing field position and fumbled. It was just Alabama was snake bit, basically. It's one of those days that you're usually going to lose, but if you are able to pull that win out, I'm sure right now to all the Oklahoma fans and the Oregon fans and the Alabama fans and all the other fans out there that barely won Penn State, I'm sure that Notre Dame and Auburn and Kansas, among other teams, let's get the list right here, the list of upsets. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. By the way, y'all can go back and check my early morning live stream that I done Saturday morning, the Saturday morning posse. Swear to God, man, I wasn't even trying. I was just looking over the games. I saw Northern Illinois and Notre Dame, and I made a brief statement on the game to the fact that, hey, Notre Dame may need to be careful with Northern Illinois. They're coming off a big win against Texas A&M. Northern Illinois is a team that can beat you and will beat you and have upset teams in the past. They even beat my team, Alabama, way back in I think it was 2003 or 2004. They upset Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So Northern Illinois is not really a team that you want to try to get schedule as a powder puff. Maybe a mid-card level team, but I wouldn't schedule them right after a big game. And I think that's what happened to Notre Dame. They just come off a big road win, and they were not focused whatsoever on playing Northern Illinois. They were probably already thinking about playing their in-state rival Purdue the next following week, and now they can completely focus on that game. And from the history that I've seen with Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, is they lose these games to teams they're not supposed to. They lost to Marshall a couple of years ago, if you'll remember. And then they turn around and beat a bunch of teams they weren't supposed to beat. So it would not surprise me if Marcus Freeman loses that game in Northern Illinois and then wins 3 or 4 games in a row now. That's college football. And that's why you can't be caught up on 1 week. Yes, Alabama and Oklahoma look bad, but it was 1 week and they won. They did not drop a game like these other teams did. We'd be in a lot worse mood today had Alabama and Oklahoma lost to Houston and South Florida yesterday. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying you shouldn't be mad at the way they played. I'm just saying don't be in here calling for heads already or wanting someone benched. God, wait, man. Must have a damn con-time Deion Sanders frog in my throat. I need to hark that shit up and spit it out. Damn. 1989M says the posse's in the house. Rodney Dawkins says Alabama was 3 plays away from winning 63-9. Maybe. We definitely, with the 3 turnovers, we definitely should have won that game 42-16. I said 42-10. If nobody knows what happened, didn't watch that game, they'll think I was some kind of genius on that game, but I really wasn't, because the game was a lot closer than 42-16. As Jesse Palmer said ad nauseum, he had a real hard on for that game. You could tell, I think Jesse Palmer was about to orgasm in his pants, man, or his panties, or whatever he's wearing these days. Teresa Moser's in the house. Hi, Jesse and Kettle Breeze. I made it to Alive for a Change. Yes, you did, and I appreciate you being here, sister. Give us your thoughts and tell us what you think about this game against Houston. A lot of Oklahoma people out there losing their minds, losing their noodles, calling for heads, wanting people benched, wanting people fired. I think there's a little overreaction going on, Teresa. I think there's a little overreaction going on. Now, I know there's some of y'all out there that are not big fans of Jackson Arnold. Y'all say he's a pompous, elitist jackass, because a lot of people say that Jackson Arnold and his father requested that Jackson start that bowl game and push Dylan Gabriel out. I don't know if I buy that or not, but that's the rumor. 1989M says, my Wolverines look completely unprepared to play football. What the hell? Well, I think it's because y'all lost a lot, and y'all not only y'all you lose a lot of players, you lost all of your leadership. The only leadership you got left is Sharon Moore and a few assistants that stayed over. I think Sharon Moore was an absolutely horrible hire. It was an emotional hire. Y'all hired a guy just because he sat over there and cried and was cringy, to be honest with you. And looked like he was faking it, sort of like Brian Kelly does a lot. It looked like he was playing for that job when he was acting like a spastic and crying and stuff. I think Sharon Moore was an absolutely horrible hire. John Ritchie says, I'm changing my prediction to Colorado's going 2-10. Justin Perrier's in the house. Justin Perrier says, my Clemson Tigers bit back 66-20. They did. That they did. Glad to see Clemson back and rolling again, just like I said they would be. All right, I'm going to bring something up for y'all real quick. I want y'all to see this real quick, and I want to get y'all's take on it. Are we overreacting to this, to Shadir Sanders, a.k.a. Sakazulu Sanders, or do we have a reason to make fun of him for doing this? I'm going to bring this up for y'all real quick. Y'all hold on just a second. See what we got here. All right. See if this one's it. I don't know if that's the right one, but there it is. Hold up. Let me rewind it. Here we go. Damn. Sort of botched that a little bit, but there he is walking off the field with 2 minutes left to go in the game, 2 or 3 minutes from what my boy Jonathan Lewis told me. So is it just me, or, I mean, he wasn't injured. Now, if he was injured and they had to take him back there to look at him, I could understand. But he didn't look injured to me. So y'all tell me exactly what that was. Do you send your starting quarterback to the locker room 2 or 3 minutes early so he don't have to shake anybody's hands? I mean, is that not sending a bad message that your supposed leader departs the field with 2 or 3 minutes left? Deion's like, well, the game was over and blah, 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 blah. There's still 2 or 3 minutes left, man. Y'all down 28-10. This is college football. Anything can happen. You get a touchdown, kick an onside kick, get the ball back, score another touchdown, you're right back in the game again. I know it sounds unlikely, but we've seen it happen quite a few times in college football. You're gonna send him to the back with 2 or 3 minutes left to go. What kind of message is that? Oh, we're gonna be more of a leadership type group. He says we're gonna lead by example. Oh, there's your example right there. When the game is when you're about to get your ass handed to you, and you just don't think you can win, just run and hide. That's the message. That's the message that sends. Is when the game is very much over with, and you know that your team is in dire straits and they're about to get their ass handed to them, let's just leave the field. I mean, I'm sure the other Colorado players that were not playing in the game would have liked to have gone ahead and went back to the back and got their bling off and got their Louis bags packed and shit so they could go to the next game against Baylor or whoever they're playing next, Colorado State. And the double standard for him and his sons is pathetic and it's nauseating. It makes me I just wish I could slap the damn gray off his face. It just pisses me off, man. Deion Sanders is such a damn hypocrite, man. He has got to be the biggest coaching jackass in the history of college football. Even worse than Lincoln Riley. That's right, I said it. Even worse than Lincoln Riley, brothers and sisters. How can I get a college football amen on that? Damn. No thoughts on that? We got crickets up in here. Don't tell me we got some con time groupies up in here. I done pissed y'all off. Y'all done got quiet on me. Y'all ain't got nothing to say about that? I got another one here. I'll bring it up for y'all right now. All right. It's y'all's favorite coach of all time right here. One that begs for people to call him coach. Don't call me Deion Sanders. You call me coach. When you earn the title, we will. Here we go. You ain't really earned our respect. Deion. Mr. I like to pour water on McCarver's head during a baseball post-game interview. Come on, Deion. I'll be your ass up there. There's some lies.
How's everyone?
There he is.
Tough game for us. Came out on the short end of the stick, obviously. Starting out, felt good about matchups. We felt good about the competition. We felt good about what we brought to the table.
You felt good about the matchup. You felt good about what you brought to the table. You were down 28-0 at halftime, right?
Today, game started. Usually we always start out positive. We started, I think the first ball was deflected. The second ball, we didn't bring that in, and it just was just not a rhythm. Then we came out and Shador did something very uncharacteristic of himself. Never makes a bad decision, especially in that part of the field, which they got to pick six.
You think?
After that, we were just trying to play catch up. Defense surrendered some things early, but I'm really, really pleased with the way they played in the second half. It seemed like we were a team of second halves defensively. We just got to get it going earlier. But overall, certainly not happy with the outcome, but the positive things, the way we competed in the second half, we had no give up, no quit in us whatsoever. We know we got to do a better job offensively on protection, as well as trying to figure out how to establish a run game and be consistent with that.
He said, Who's that remind you of? Them mustard and biscuits are real good. Sound like Sling Blade over here. We got Sling Blade up here coaching. Did y'all hear that? Try it again. See y'all hear it. Y'all hear
Trying to figure out how to establish a run game and be consistent with that. I'm just excited. I mean, you got to understand when you're in a situation like this, you got to find something to hold on to that you can encourage your team. And I'm truly excited about the second half of football that we played. You would have thought offensively would have came in here and did half of what we did a week ago, and it would have been a better contest, but it didn't. They had the advantage the whole.
Just a real quick memo and a notification for Deion. First half does count, brother. Your team of second halves, yeah, great. That's great, man. But you got to play the whole game, brother.
Whole entire game, it seemed as though young kid did a good job with protecting the ball, not turning it over as well. I'm looking at 23 for 30. That's pretty darn good, 185 yards. But touchdown and no turnovers. I'm not happy about 9 penalties for 104 yards whatsoever. The game got truly sloppy at the end of it. It seemed like it was just flag after flag after flag. They had 12 for 105. Normally, with that type of output of flags and penalties, you usually come out victorious, but both of us were horrible in that aspect. Third down, 4-14 is not who we are. Fourth downs, we had 2 shots at one point to get a yard, and we didn't accomplish that. And that was truly frustrating when we prepare for those type of situations. We were in those type of situations in practice several times this week. I made sure we prepared for those situations, but we didn't get it. So it was what it was. Hats off to Coach Rule, his staff, coach.
Is it just me? Anybody here? I mean, he's reading from a piece of paper, man. He had to write him out some stuff to be able to come in here and remember what to say. It looks like a 4th grader up there reading a damn social studies project paper or some shit.
It's a heck of a game. Great guy. Like I said, we came into class together as coaches, so I'm always rooting for them unless they play us. But I'm happy if we're going to get our butts kicked, might as well be him. God-fearing man. Let's go.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Let's go.
Hi, Coach. Nikki Edwards, Hughes Sports Report. Just simply, why was it so difficult for?
Let's go. See, you want people to treat you professionally and treat you like a coach, but you can't even open the form for questions without acting all. I'm not even going to say it, but you know how he's acting. Acting like a damn fool, man.
The offense to respond to Nebraska's defense?
I have no idea.
Whoa.
We would have known that answer. I think we would have responded quicker.
Did you hear that? What's this?
The offense to respond to Nebraska's defense?
I have no idea. We would have.
That's no idea.
That answer, I think we would have responded quicker.
No idea. You don't have no idea what happened. You don't have no idea why your team performed the way it did. You don't have any inkling as to what you could work on. You got a set of notes in your freaking hand, moron. You just read off a bunch of shit that probably your sports information director wrote for you, because we all know you're not really coaching. I don't know. What happened? What happened? Why'd you lose? Is there anything you can tell us, Coach, that could give us an inkling as to why not only did you get beat, you got beat down. 28-10 doesn't tell the story. I don't know what happened in the second half, but if I had to point at something that was a negative for Nebraska, it was the fact that they called it in a little too soon. Rule needs to go out there and put his foot on the throat there. If that had been another team besides Colorado, Nebraska might have got into a dogfight at the end of the game. So you need to go in there, Nebraska, and you absolutely need to put your foot on the throat and at least score 1 or 2 touchdowns in the second half. Of course, I heard there was Big 12 officiating there, so that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, we seemed like we just never got it going until it was too late. It seemed like we just never got it going. Protections were a problem.
He's just bobbing his head, man. He's looking for answers. Where are they at? Where's the answers at? I don't know what the hell happened. I'm just a coach. Why y'all asking me what happened? I'm just a head coach. I'm just a lowly head coach. You're not supposed to ask me these questions.
I'm trying to be polite and say it because, if I can say the same thing you're thinking, but if I say it, you say I'm throwing my guys up under the bus. I'm not doing that whatsoever.
Yes, you are.
Protection were a problem. We got to figure out a way to prevent that and do a better job with that.
Brian, go ahead. The coach has a couple questions for you. First off, are you?
He said, I'm not throwing them on the bus, but they need to protect better. I'm not going to say that because then y'all get on to me, but they do need to protect better. You're not going to say that, but you're going to say that. Dude, you're the biggest gaslighting jackass I've ever seen, man. You are indeed a farce and just an embarrassment to the coaching profession, man. That's why you don't deserve to be Coach Prime. You need to just be called Con Time, like I've been saying the whole time.
You surprised the offensive line is not getting the push and the protection that you thought they might.
Well, first game, I think they did a good job protecting. I'm not going to say that. This game,
I'm not going to say that.
So we hadn't run the ball like we wanted to consistently. But rarely do you have a great running offense and a great passing offense. Rarely you have that. One is going to have to be the lesser.
Rarely you have an offense that's got good passing and running. Maybe when you played at Florida State, I don't know, man. That don't sound right. Now, of course, yes, you're going to be better at one thing than you are the other. That's what he's trying to allude to. But the way he's saying it is you're going to be exceptionally better at one and not so exceptional at the other. That's horseshit. It's called. Let me give you a lesson, Deion. Get your little notebook and write this shit down, or get your son Saka Zulu or Shiloh with his bummed up arm. If it's his right arm, get him to write with his left hand. Give him some practice right here. He can take some notes left-handed. But that's called having a balanced offense. And you know what a balanced offense does for you, brother? It wins you championships. That's what it does, Deion.
Of the two. Well, we got to figure out a way to have some type of running game. We have backs that can flat out do it. We really do.
Yeah.
Like what I saw out of those guys as well.
What?
The second question for you.
What?
Can you give us an update on Shiloh? It also looked like Chidozie went out.
Yeah. Shiloh, I think injury reports, I think Harge did something with his foot on one of the punts.
But that's all I'm going to make y'all listen to of that. That's 5 minutes of rambling and bumbling of a jackass that doesn't know. Hey, Coach, what happened? Could you give us an idea of what you can do to correct this shit in the future? I mean, you're only making $10 million a year. Let me see. Let me think. I don't know. Gee, Mr. Hand, I don't know. It's just like that scene out of Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Spicoli's asked what he should do to get to class on time or to provide him with a better learning atmosphere. And Spicoli says, oh, no. Why are you asking me? Deion Sanders, man. All you con time groupies out there, I've never understood it. Maybe somebody in here in the comment section can make me understand why people have been fooled up by this guy since day one. What is it y'all saying this guy from the get-go? I've been saying this before he ever went to Colorado, that he was a farce and he was a con man. He was conning people at the HBCU level. Yeah, he was winning a lot of games there because his fame and glory dwarfed everybody at that level, which is like really Division III football because they don't even compete in the FCS. And you get 3 or 4 star players there, and meanwhile you got Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman and teams like that getting 1 and 2 star players if they're lucky. So he had a distinct advantage over them. He doesn't have that anymore. You're at Colorado. You got other coaches out there like Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Kalen DeBoer. The list goes on and on. Josh Heupel, Brent Venables, even Lincoln Riley out recruits your ass, man. This ain't the HBCU level, man. You can't be making these dumbass statements, these vague, open-ended statements and hoping that people just going to let you slide. He's done banned half the reporting crew there. Felt like a damn CNN press conference. It seems like everybody in here is just talking about something else. Everybody's just all about the Oklahoma game up in here today, boy. See all y'all in here, man. Y'all mad as hell about that Oklahoma-Houston game, ain't you? But I'm going to go ahead and bring something up for y'all real quick. Now that I've had my fun in grilling the hell out of the one I call Con Time Deion Sanders, let's look at some football scores from yesterday. Well, that's not the football scores from yesterday. This is bowl projections. It says Notre Dame falls from the college football playoff field. Well, no shit. There we go. Here's the top 25 poll. Let's look at that real quick. See if we got it down here and print it up for them, but I don't like we do. All right. There it is. Can y'all see that? The AP top 25 has already came out. Georgia is number 1. Texas moved up to number 2 after their supposedly impressive win over Michigan, which I'm not buying into that either. It's just like the whole LSU-USC game. How good is LSU and USC really after they play each other? Long way to go. And LSU didn't look very good against Nicholls State. They won 44-21, but you give up 21 points to Nicholls State. Ohio State's number 3. Alabama remains number 4 after struggling with South Florida. I'm surprised at that. Now, us adding a couple of late touchdowns probably helped us there. There's a lot of people didn't watch the game probably that vote this shit. Ole Miss is number 5. They're up 1 space. Missouri is number 6. So the SEC has 4, actually 5. 5. Look at that. There's 5 SEC schools, because I forget Texas is in the SEC now. 5. Well, look at that. There's Tennessee. Tennessee is number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the top 7 teams in the AP poll are in the SEC. I've never seen this before. I didn't even notice this until today. So I just brought this up. This is crazy. 6 SEC schools out of 7 spots are in the top 7. Then you have Penn State at number 8. Oregon's number 9. They drop down 2 spots. Miami, Florida moves into the top 10. Sort of nostalgic here. Got a lot of old school powers back in the top 10. Miami, Penn State, and all those guys. USC moves up 2 spots to number 11. The Skittle Shitters are on the cusp of being in the top 10 after that big win over Utah State. Then, speaking of Utah, the other Utah moves down 1 to number 12. Oklahoma State moves up 3 to number 13 after struggling against Arkansas. That sort of surprises me. Kansas State's number 14. Oklahoma is number 15. They were number 15 last week in the AP poll. LSU actually moved up 2 spots for allowing Nicholls State to score 21 points. Michigan fell hard. They fell 10 spots to number 17. Notre Dame only fell 5 spots for losing to Northern Illinois. Okay, you're going to drop Michigan 10 spots for losing to Texas, who's number 2. And you're only going to drop Notre Dame 5 spots for losing to unranked Northern Illinois MAC team? This goes to show you these polls ain't worth a shit, man. I might just quit looking at these some bitches. Number 19 is Louisville. They moved up 3. Arizona is 20th. They stayed right where they were. Iowa State moves up 8 spots from outside the poll. They're number 21. Clemson's number 22. Nebraska's in the top 25 now. They're number 23. Boston College is finally in the top 25 too. And Northern Illinois. Surprise, surprise. Northern Illinois is ranked. Notre Dame said, we'll say, look, we got beat by a ranked team. We still deserve to be in the playoffs. Northern Illinois is ranked. Yeah, well, the thing is, these teams, these MAC teams, these G5 schools that pull these upsets, can they do that consistently throughout the year? Past histories dictate and say they can't. They'll end up losing to somebody that's on their level or maybe even a little bit below their level. Watch and see. Although I'd like to see Northern Illinois turn that into a playoff spot. That would be a nice little Cinderella story because, you know, this year, what's so epic about this year is we are guaranteed one Cinderella story. There's going to be one G5 school in the playoffs this year. That's what is so great. So what do y'all think about that top 25? What do y'all think? Killer Breeze says that's the first time that's happened, JPC. Yeah, 6 SEC schools in the top 7. But the SEC's top heavy, right? That's what our boy Kuz will have you believe. We're top heavy. We only have 2 or 3 good teams. And just because the Big 12 has the corner market on the mid cards, don't get mad at us. Y'all, yes, the Big 12 has parity. This is true. It's great parity in the Big 12. It's true. But the SEC has parity too, except there's 2 different kinds of parity here. The Big 12 has what we call mid-card parity. In the SEC, we have championship parity. 6 out of 7. I don't think that's ever been done, ever. John Christophic is in the house. John Christophic says Notre Dame should not be in the top 25. Exactly, but not only are they in the top 25, John, they only dropped 5 spots. But we're going to drop Michigan 10 spots for losing to the number 2 team. See how ass backwards these bastards are? They didn't do away with it. They didn't do away with polls. Like people have said before, we shouldn't have a poll until the playoff poll comes out. We shouldn't. The AP poll and the UPI poll, well, it's not UPI anymore. It's showing my age now. Coaches poll, whatever. They shouldn't be allowed to name national champions anymore either. Now, the national championships that were before the BCS, yes, I understand those people should be able to claim because that's the only system we had in place to crown a national champion. But that shit's archaic now. Do away with that shit, man. Cinderella story, leave that to girls' sports. Really? Well, they talk about Cinderella stories in March Madness every year, Marine Center, in college basketball. Men's college basketball. Not just girls' college, but men's. Cinderella story means a team that you don't think have a chance in the world to win. John Christophic once again is chiming in to say that Pittsburgh should be in the top 25. I would have agreed with you this week if they had handled Cincinnati like they should have, but they really didn't. What a lot of people don't realize about that score is Cincinnati was actually up 27-6 on Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, to their credit now, not trying to take nothing away from you, John, came back and won the game. Down 27-6, Pittsburgh storms back and beats Cincinnati, I think, on the road, if I'm not mistaken. So, that was deserve a round of applause for making that comeback. But at the same time, should you really be down 21 to Cincinnati if you're a top 25 team? It would be my devil's advocate argument to you, John, although I do like Pitt, and I hope Pitt succeeds, and I hope Pitt does get in the top 25 eventually. They just need to have a few more impressive wins, I reckon. That's all I got for now. It says 1989M. I hope y'all kick ass against the Longhorns and knock them off again, Boomers, sooner. All right. So I might bring a few people in here in just a second. If someone wants to be on the show, anybody want to be on the show, I'll put them up in here. I'm going to go ahead and send out a few invites real quick. Try to real quick. Invites. Gmail. Let's see what we got here. All right. Send that one out. All right. JD Wilmott's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. You'll see guys in here with their badge. If you want to get your badge and get deputized and be one of the random full horseman shout-outs on the actual podcast, as well as possibly the comment of the day on the actual podcast, it's just $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. It's just half a bottle of water for the outlaw. You'll get that badge. You'll be deputized. You'll be an outlaw posse. And you'll get all those perks that I just mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Damn, JPC, you remember the UPI? Now you're showing your age. Yeah, man, I do. I mess up sometimes and still call it that shit. I still don't call it the coaches poll. And it's even changed from that. It went from the UPI poll. We're going to do a little history lesson here now, since JD raised his hand and called me out for being an old bastard here. It was the UPI poll, which was the I think it stood for Universal Press, something. Anyway, UPI poll, and then it was called the coaches poll, and then it was called the USA Today coaches poll. Now, it still may be called the USA Today coaches poll. I'm not sure. Killer Breeze, I might catch the back end of the show if y'all still on, finishing up my work at work, brother. Okay. All right, brother. I'm sorry I didn't respond to you more 1989 in, but I advise you I wouldn't fret too much over that Michigan loss. Y'all just going through a period of time, a bad period of time that you were put in my opinion, by Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh absolutely has 150% blame in what's happening to Michigan now. Jim Harbaugh should never be allowed to coach in college again. And I think that Michigan probably needs to move on from Sharon Moore sooner rather than later. I know you don't like to just fire someone after 1 year, but if he does as bad as I think he's going to do, I think you might want to consider it. It's not the norm, but sometimes you can't just be the norm to get your program back where it needs to be. In my opinion, Sharon Moore is not the guy to lead Michigan. I could be wrong. In a couple of years, he may be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I think you need to get rid of Sharon Moore, and y'all need to really ostracize the hell out of Jim Harbaugh. As far as the Michigan alumnus goes, I would definitely, bar Harbaugh from any kind of ceremonies or anything, because he left y'all in a bad situation. All right. Let me send an invite out to somebody else here real quick. Let y'all have it for a little while here. All right. Trying to get a couple of different fan bases up in here tonight. One guy said he might be on, but looks like he's having some personal situations. He's not going to be able to be in here. Killer Breeze had said something about possibly being on too. So I'm going to send him an invite too. See what we got here. All right. All right. I sent you a little bit of an invite there, Killer Breeze. Also, if y'all want to get your comments read out more readily, because we got a lot of people up in here, just click that little money dollar sign at the bottom there. Click on that, write your comment out, and then click it a second time. It'll highlight it, push it to the top, and I'll read your comment over everybody else's for just a small little donation or whatnot. Duck Knights in the house. Wins matter, polls don't. I agree with you, Duck Knight. What's up with Oregon, man? Y'all have struggled with Idaho and Boise back to back. Was that your first win against Boise? Because I was under the impression that Boise had beaten y'all 3 or 4 times, and y'all had never beaten Boise State. Or have y'all finally beaten them? I can't remember. I knew for a while there Boise had a big goose egg on y'all as far as wins goes, but y'all may have rectified that before yesterday. I'm not sure. Give us a little history lesson on the Oregon Ducks, my brother. JD Wilmoss says, I'm glad they've done away with the UPI. Those split polls were ridiculous. That's why there's so many unclaimed. They didn't really do away with it. The coaches poll is still there. USA Today and the coaches basically USA Today just bought the poll. So it ain't gone anywhere. It's still there. It's just in a different name. I sent you an invite, Killer Breeze. If you're not out there at Camp Crystal Lake, Killer lives out there at the RV park out there on the lake. He's got him a harem out there, I think. Out there on the lake like damn Jason Voorhees and shit. So I'm gonna bring something else up for y'all. For you Oklahoma fans in here. Let's see what we got here. All right, here we go. The Oklahoman. It was far from pretty, and it leaves many more questions than answers. But 13th ranked OU escaped with a 16-12 win over Houston on Saturday at Gaylord Family Stadium. The Sooners offense couldn't find much consistency with just one sustained drive. Luckily for OU, the defense did just enough to help the Sooners pull off the victory. Sounds sort of like Alabama and Oklahoma were basically playing the same game. The only difference is Alabama ended up scoring a lot of late touchdowns to make it look a lot better. It really wasn't indicative, but it really was indicative as far as Alabama goes. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But it says here we deserve to lose because we did everything you can everything you can possibly do to give someone a chance to win, said OU football coach Brent Venables. Said on the SEC network immediately, which I can't watch because they don't have it on Dish Network anymore, or ATTU-verse, because ESPN's a bunch of jackasses. Says here, Grace Halton bails out the Sooners offense. With 1:48 to play, Houston got the ball with their own 5, needing just a field goal to shock the Sooners. Grace Halton wasn't having it. The senior's junior defensive tackle cut through the Cougars' offensive line like butter and corralled Stacy Snead in the end zone for a safety to extend OU's lead to 4 points. After a review, the play stood. Yeah, so I saw it was 14-12, man. All of a sudden it was 16-12, and I'm like, wow. Oklahoma literally won on defense. Yeah, people say we won the game with defense. They literally won that game with defense. That damn safety sealed the deal for y'all. Says the late penalty also helped the Sooners stay in front. Facing 4th and 1 from their own 30, the Sooners offense remained on the field at least to try and draw a penalty. The move paid off. Houston's Brandon Mack jumped across the line of scrimmage, and the center Joshua Bates snapped it, drawing the flag. Jackson Arnold's deep pass was intercepted, but it didn't matter as the penalty gave OU a first down. It does matter. I mean, it's a free play. Why not take advantage of it? I mean, Jackson's already thrown one interception. I mean, you're okay with him throwing a second one just because it supposedly didn't count? The penalty with around 5 minutes remaining didn't lead to points as the Sooners had to punt eventually, but it allowed them to kill 3 more minutes before giving the ball back. That's the first two. They got 5 takeaways from the game. That's the first 2 right there. I'm going to go back in here for a second. I heard somebody popping in. It's that damn dastardly ass corn dog eater, Killer Breeze. What's up, brother?
You're gonna hurt my feelings, man.
Yeah. This ain't the podcast to be if you're gonna get your feelings hurt.
I already
Just gotta make Jonathan tap out, man. You already made Jonathan tap out, man. He won't come back on here.
I didn't. I was actually very kind to Jonathan. Now,
Yeah, I bet you was. I bet you put him up. I bet you put him up to it.
The rest of the fan base, not so much, but you shouldn't be surprised by that. Their reputation online is it's pretty well known.
Yeah, someone followed up on something I said. Killer's got him a harem of trailer park women. Told me you had a harem out there on that lake, man. You like Jim Jones and shit.
I'm Tom Cruise at the trailer park.
Hell yeah.
I got all my teeth, man. That puts me in the 98th percentile right there.
I guess you heard me reading off some of that stuff from the Oklahoman, right?
I did. Yeah. I mean,
There's-
look,
there's their 5 takeaways or whatever.
it
But,
didn't help.
Just coming in here for a second, go ahead and just give us your thoughts on this game in general.
The game was, well, first of all, you have to acknowledge what the game was. On offense,
And the reactions of your fan base as well.
yeah, well, the reaction of the fan base is always going to be, with this fan base, the reaction is going to be an overreaction. But largely, I mean, you can't blame anyone for being upset about what they saw offensively. I mean, you know, man, that's the I haven't seen that in a long time. That was as bad as I've ever seen an Oklahoma offense. And it's just kind of, you know, it's so frustrating. You know, all the years we've always, I mean, Oklahoma's offense outside of a few years in the 90s, they always have offense at Oklahoma. And that was just as inept as I've seen. I think the last 8 drives, they had no points on the last 8 drives. Their third down efficiency over the first 2 games is horrible. I mean, it's something like, I think it's like 6 or 8 for like 25 or something like that. It's not good. And Jackson Arnold is playing tight. You know, the offensive line, I mean, they have no running game. There's just no identity to the offense. I just don't know what they're even trying to do. You know,
Does it sort of make you feel good in the fact that you tried to tell some of your fellow Sooners that wishing for Jeff Lebby to disappear was probably not a good idea?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did sit here and say that, you know, be careful what you wish for, because I found it funny that I went into a few different chat rooms yesterday because I was upset, just like most Sooner fans were, and I saw a lot of the same people that were calling for Jackson Arnold all year last year over Dylan Gabriel were in there calling for Hawkins. You know, that's just kind of, you know, it's ridiculous, man. And I get it, you know. It's frustrating to have such high hopes for Jackson Arnold and see him regress like this a little bit, and he has. But I'll also remind everyone that, and I got to give credit where credit is due, and I think it made the OU game that much worse, is that I'm sure most Sooner fans like me watched Texas pretty much have their way with Michigan in the Big House. And you might be right. Maybe Michigan's not that good, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Texas looked really good on all facets of the game.
No, it didn't take away from the fact that Texas did what they were supposed to do.
That's exactly did it at a very high level across the board, led by Quinn Ewers, who I got to give him credit. He played a great game, and that's what I'll bring up, is that let's not forget that Quinn Ewers, up until the last, you know, this season, the way, if he's playing like that all year long, that this will be the first year he's been rock solid, because he's been pretty inconsistent, but he's gotten steadily better every year since he was, you know, a freshman. So Jackson Arnold is not a lost cause. Jackson Arnold clearly has the physical skills. We've seen it. We've seen him make the throws. We know he can play, but he's clearly regressing because I think he's tentative, and I think a lot of this noise, you know, has gotten to him a little bit, and that's disappointing, man, because it's unnecessarily, man. It's self-inflicted wounds, and we're not helping ourselves by tearing these kids down, or young men, whatever the hell you want to call them. Tearing them down is not getting anyone anywhere, you know. But it was very there's no excuse for what we saw. I mean, dude, there was no running game. I mean, the injuries are bad. We're kind of really we kind of got a lot of severe injuries. I mean, our top 3 wide receivers are not playing. You know, 2 of them are out. One of them's for the year. The other one is probably for the year when it's all said and done. And this other one I think is hurt worse than they're admitting. But all of a sudden, this deep wide receiver room, now we're left with all these, under 6 foot guys that are supposedly speed demons, and they don't. That's not. You can have one of them to run some go routes and some posts, and that's fine, and use that speed. But when I'm looking at a field of 3 of them at the same time that are built like that, that's not going to get it done. So I'm just a little concerned because, man, our offensive line is so beat up. We got a lot of injuries to the guys that we were hoping that could start. So we're now at the in the 2 deep already on an already beat up offensive line. So I just don't know how much better it can really get. That's what worries me.
You know what actually worries me is y'all's playing next week, Tulane. They look good against Kansas State.
I'm really worried about that.
They should have probably. They beat Kansas State last year, and they should have beat them. They should have beat them yesterday.
Well, we played them. We played them a few years ago, and they gave us everything we wanted back then.
I mean, people still don't take Tulane seriously, and they need to start because they beat USC too, by the way. So I mean, it's not like they're a team that's going to be intimidated coming into Gaylord Stadium.
If Oklahoma plays the way that they played yesterday against Tulane, they will probably lose at home. That's probably just the truth. I mean, again,
and
I gotta say the play calling from Seth Luttrell, and I was saying the same thing. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's all right. We got Luttrell. Luttrell's an analyst. It's all right if Levy leaves. We got Luttrell." And I remember thinking back then, it was just like, why the hell is that? Everybody's? I mean, who was Seth Luttrell? I mean, truly. And I bought in. I heard all the things that I was hearing, and certainly his ties to the program and being from the state of Oklahoma, he understands what the expectations are. So, but I've been thoroughly disappointed. He's shown no commitment to run the ball.
Speaking of somebody that looked good this week, not just Texas. Texas and Tennessee both look good. Both the UTs look very good. Tennessee did much more than they needed to in beating a top 25 team at the time in NC State. They beat them 51-10. Now, I don't know how good NC State is. It's just like everybody said, man, these polls shouldn't even be out because they're misleading. You think you beat a top 25 team, and that top 25 team ends up being a team that goes 3-9. So NC State could easily go 3-9 because they've done it before. But Tennessee, it looks very scary right now.
They look good, man. They got a great defensive front, and their offense is clicking as well. Hype's put together a really good program so far, man. I'm impressed, And so, all of a sudden now I'm looking at the season and I'm back to like, man, hopefully we go 8-4. I mean, I'm a little concerned, man, to be honest with you at this point. I'm not saying it can't be fixed. And thank God the defense does seem to be, a pretty good defense. I'm not going to say they're great at this point, but they're definitely playing.
I'm wondering where that private investigator is, Steve Lee's, the one that wanted to bet me $150 that Oklahoma was going to win 11 games this year. I'm about to take him up on that bet now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got it, man. I mean, look, I mean, because now I don't know how we're going to beat Tennessee really at this point. I got to see. We would have to come out and convincingly beat Tulane next week.
Well, it's just like my team, Alabama. We really struggled against South Florida. You wouldn't know it by the score, but it was 21-16 with 5 minutes left. We just blew up and got a lot of late touchdowns on a South Florida team that was just ready to roll over. But Alabama had 3 or 4 turnovers in that game too. We had one in the red zone, one on the kickoff that was at the 50-yard line, and had great field position. Guy makes a great kick return and then fumbles the ball. We did everything we could to let them have that game, but it's like I told everybody, there was a lot of shit going on in Alabama. They had dedication to the field. They said that they had to pull Jalen Milroe away from Julio Jones, who was down on the field sitting next to him. He ain't supposed to be doing that. He ain't supposed to be sitting over by a quarterback. I know he's a legend and everything in Alabama, but come on, man. We don't need you sitting by the players during the game, getting in their head, messing with them. But there's a lot of shit going on. And no matter what you say to these kids or these young men, as you said, to ask them to get focused on each one of these games every week, man, that's almost impossible, man. There's no way you can tell them, hey, look, man, you need to take Houston seriously. They lost by 20 points to UNLV, but y'all need to take them seriously. They're just not going. It's just not going to play, man. They're not going to be focused on teams like that. And
well,
I bet you y'all will focus on Tennessee, just like Alabama will focus on Georgia a lot more.
Well, I think it's worth noting. It is worth. You bring up a great point because I don't even think they schemed for Houston. I think they just ran what they were going to run. So you bring up a good point. They certainly should play up to the level of the competition. And a lot of times when you play someone that's so much inferior to you in terms of the talent on the field, and like you said, the performance they had just had the week before to UNLV team, who, by the way, might be pretty good. Then these kids, they hear it, man. That's my point. They hear all the noise. It's what did Nick Saban call it? Rat poison. It's
Alabama got lucky that we run the score up a little bit there in the fourth quarter. People that probably didn't watch the game, the AP voters, people like that, they're probably not going to watch the game. They're just going to see the score. And what it was is, what the score was at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter?
Alabama's game?
Yeah.
They were only up by, what was it, 6?
They were up by 1 point. It's 14-13.
Oh, really?
It was 14. Wow. It was 14-13 going into the fourth. And we scored 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
So
were any of them defensive touchdowns?
We should have probably lost that game. Do what?
Were any of them defensive touchdowns out of the 28 you scored in the fourth, or were they all offense?
They were all offense.
Nice.
We stopped them on a couple of fourth downs and stuff, and our players just run it all in. So,
I mean, Oklahoma had some bright spots, not many. I mean, and then, it looks like we're going to have a kicker problem again. Like, that's the kind of thing that just blows. I just don't understand how a school like Oklahoma cannot have a good kicker. Like we're going on a couple of years now of having kickers and for many years we did have really good kickers that were not a liability. And now our kickers are a liability, man. They missed a field goal, in a game where every point was at a premium, and he missed it bad. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was way wide left. It wasn't just a little wide left. It was he choked. So that's the part that concerns me a little bit, man, as I feel like to be in your third year with Venables as players and man, I just feel like the things that I hear that he's doing and the things that I see, it just seems like he's doing it the right way. But there's also some things that I just feel like I just can't believe that we're just this bad at some things in year 3. That concerns me.
Not to change the subject, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. It's something I brought up. If you've seen it or not, I want you to see what you're talking about. A lot of people are saying we're overreacting to this.
No,
but I just want you to give me your thoughts on this right here.
I think it's pathetic. It's the Shador leaving with like 2 minutes left in the game, and he's going to the locker room.
nephew Sanders.
Yeah, it's to me it's pathetic. I mean, it really is. And then if you I don't know if you heard him in his press conference after the game, he was basically throwing his offensive line under the bus. He said something like, "Yeah. How many times did Raiola get touched? How many times? How many times did
Yeah.
Raiola get touched?"
That's funny you said it because I brought up Deion's press conference, and Deion was like, "I'm not going to say it was protection because then you guys will rail on me, but the protection wasn't there." I just thought you said you wasn't going to say that, man,
Yeah.
and you said it anyway. You tried to play it on the press, man. That's called gaslighting, jackass. You're saying stuff that we know is not true, and you try to make us think it is true. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Him and his father both throwing the offensive line on the bus, but whose fault is that for not recruiting offensive linemen?
Well, that he hasn't recruited. And I heard him in an interview on TV. Of course, he's talking about how much he loves being a coach, and he loves the kids, and he loves being in Boulder, Colorado. And I mean, man, you just know that none of that's true. Like, he talked about how much he loves recruiting. Oh, you love recruiting? Well, then why do you get your star players almost exclusively through the portal? That's where his best players come from.
Exactly. He don't do any work. What the transfer portal is it serves a decent purpose sometimes, but what it does sometimes is it makes the job easier for lazy recruiters. Because what they do is they go out and get these players that have already been evaluated. Now, Nick Saban liked him enough to give him a scholarship. I'll take him. I don't have to do an evaluation. Nick Saban's already done it. Brent Venables already done it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, and the last time I looked, I think you and we might have been on a phone call at the time, but the last time I looked in the 247 recruit team rankings, they were like, he was like in the 70s, or high 60s or something. I mean, they had like 8 recruits total or something. It was pathetic. And he's talking about how he's gonna, I remember him saying, "You better get us now. You better get us now because we got those players are coming. Players are coming." Where are they? You've been there a couple of years now. You haven't really improved the team at all.
They came, but they left. See, a lot of those players that came in turned around and transferred again. They all come in there and they're like, "Yeah, this is bullshit. We're not going to stay here. There's too much daddy ball going on for Deion Sanders, man."
I mean, man, the things that have been reported by people that used to be in the program or people that are close to it, I mean, man, it sounds like he's running it sounds like Death Row Records in Boulder, Colorado. I mean, that's what it sounds like player intimidation, hazing, fucking money scandals and gambling and all kinds of shit going on.
It's like you're watching the movie The Longest Yard or something, man.
Yeah.
It's just crazy as hell, man.
Yeah, and Shador and Shiloh are supposedly the ringleaders of it. Go figure.
Rhino 26 in the house with a big fist bump. He's one of the big supporters of the program. I have to give him that fist bump every time. But you're right about the Sanders boys. They basically have full just access to do whatever the hell they want to people, man. I mean, I think one of his sons beat up one of the players in the locker room or something. I can't remember exactly what it was over, but it was something to do with some kind of hazing ritual kind of shit.
Yeah, that's right. It's and again to see Shador's behavior, to listen to the way he talked about and his own players and threw them under the bus, to listen to Deion, con time. I mean, by the way, we called this 100%. This is not like.
Yeah, they act like we're jumping on the bandwagon now. We've been calling this shit for 2 years now. Ever since he left Jackson State, I've been calling him a farce, man.
Yes, man. He's only going to be, as soon as his kids are gone, he is out of there. There's no possible way he is going to stay there and do what a coach has to do. I mean, even if you're going to be a crappy coach, your employer, the university is going to hold you accountable to be a coach. And even at a minimal effort level, it's a ton of work. So there's no way he's going to do that if it doesn't service his sons or him directly. No way.
That's
No
right.
way. And he's not going to go through the scrutiny. And until he starts winning on a consistent level, the scrutiny is only going to get louder and louder and louder. And he, contrary to what he tries to say, he doesn't handle that well because he's not used to people not liking him.
Well, he's got 2 pretty easy games coming up against Colorado State and Baylor. Neither one of those teams are very good. So I expect him to probably win these games, and then they'll be back on that shit again, man. See, we're 3-1. We lost to Nebraska. They're a legendary program. They're a blue blood. We only lost to a blue blood. Suddenly, Nebraska's a blue blood at that point to them. But last year, they was talking all sorts of mad shit about Nebraska. So,
That's what I was going to say. Look at how they handled up on Nebraska. Nebraska actually came out playing pretty well in the beginning of that game. They just couldn't hold on. And look at how different the outcome was this year. You know?
Yeah. Now, the only thing I have an exception to in Nebraska is I don't understand why they didn't try to score any points in the second half. They were up 28-0 at halftime, right? Something like that.
Is it? Do we know that they intentionally let off the gas? I mean, maybe they were.
Yeah, they did let off the gas. My problem is that you don't let up off the gas that early. They'll get you in trouble. They got Alabama in trouble with Nick Saban. I mean, we let up on you guys, and y'all almost come back and made that a game. It ended up 45-34. We was up on y'all 28-0. Yeah. And Nick Saban got all conservative and shit, and he almost let Oklahoma come back. You just can't do that, man. Not that early anyway. You can let up with about 10 minutes left to go if you're up 28, but not with 2 quarters left.
I think Matt Rule is the real deal, though, man. I think this is it. I think Nebraska's finally coming back. I'm not calling any kind of national championships or anything, but the guy can recruit. He's bringing legit talent into the program through both the portal and recruiting. But he's recruiting some 5-star and some high-level players, man. And he's a good coach. So I think this is legitimate. You know, I think give them a couple of years, man.
I would like to know if your boy Rhino26 probably feels the same way you do. And I'm not trying to gloat. You know, I know you're not the kind to try to gloat on your own fan base, but I'm going to have to give you props because just like I said earlier, you were saying that these people that were wanting Jeff Lebby gone, you know, we just talked about this. I would be interested to know from Rhino26 and the people in the comments if they actually miss Jeff Lebby now.
Well, you should. I mean, we had the number 4 offense in the country last year. So
you tried to tell him. You tried to tell him, man.
You should miss him. And don't get me wrong. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, "Well, he was leaving anyway." Yeah, he was. But I don't think the plan was ever for him to leave the first year of us going into the SEC. In fact, I'm pretty damn sure that the plan was he was going to lead us into the SEC. We were going to play well, and then he was going to move on, yes, to be a head coach after a couple of years in the SEC. So I think he was really supposed to be there more like 3, more like, minimum 3, more likely 4 years. And the amount of grief that he got online was immense. You know, the hate that he got for his association with what's his face, Art Briles. You know, I get it. Art Briles is despicable what he did. You know,
still is
but
bothering.
I mean, it's just the way that everybody just talked about him like he was just not him. I'm talking about talked about Levy like he was just hot garbage. You know, you can't tell me that didn't affect him wanting to leave earlier. There's no way that didn't come into play. And
Yeah,
so
I know Mississippi State's an SEC job, and that was the devil's advocate point of view that I was giving you when he took it. But I'm actually in agreement with you that I think he probably could have waited for a better job. And he took that job just like Lane Kiffin took the job at Florida Atlantic because Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban couldn't get along, and he was basically forced out. Lane Kiffin would have preferred to have stayed at Alabama and then took the Ole Miss job, not go to Florida Atlantic. And I think that's exactly what you're trying to say here is that Jeff Lebby, he was going to leave because he's a guy that a lot of people think can be a head coach. He left a little bit earlier than he wanted to.
100%. We should have Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel should be our quarterback this year. Jackson Arnold, because that's the other thing. The fan base was calling for Jackson Arnold all year long. That they had a big part in this too. The pressure to get Jackson Arnold in there faster than he needed to get in. I mean, I think the kid would have sat another year. I really do. And we would have been better for it,
You want to address this comment?
Levy was garbage. Okay.
4th ranked offense, brother.
Yeah. Garbage.
Stats don't lie, man. I
don't even know what to say. What am I supposed to say to that? I mean, that's so ridiculous. Yeah, Rhino and I we're in some of these chat rooms together on some of these live streams when I was melting down. It was just getting worse and worse for me as the game went on, and we just got worse and worse on offense. I mean, the play calling is a problem.
I tell you what, if Jeff Lebby's trash, I would love to have all that trash, man. I would love somebody to dump that shit right into my offense right now, man. Trash my shit up, brother. 4th ranked offense in the nation. 4th ranked.
I can promise you this. If we had Jeff Levy's garbage offense and the defense that we have now, we sure as hell wouldn't be talking about that Houston game the way we're talking about it now.
Yeah,
you can bet your ass on that.
You wouldn't be scared of Tulane next week either.
He wasn't perfect, White Eagle. I mean, nobody said he was perfect, but it's just kind of dumb to talk about considering his past performance at Ole Miss and Central Florida before that and Oklahoma. It's just kind of ridiculous to say that he was garbage. I mean, it's so dumb. I mean, really.
Rhino 26 said he never had an issue with Lebby. The problem is we had offense with Riley, no defense. It's just he feels like it's flipped now. You got a good defense,
that's
but
right.
not really enough offense.
And that's just so unbelievable to me that we can't put the two together anymore. Like, Oklahoma has never, I'm 51 years old, dude. I have never, other than a few years in the 90s, I've never had Oklahoma scoring points has never been a problem in Oklahoma, just ever. Here and there, maybe it wasn't quite as good, but what we just saw, they scored 14 points, dude, and on 2 touchdowns, and one of them was spotted to us at the 10-yard line on what was probably a bad call, giving us the saying that the Houston. I don't think the Houston receiver. Returner touched the ball, and they gave Oklahoma the recovery of it. So we scored from 10 yards out, and then we had that one good drive where I thought, I thought we were good. I was making those kind of comments in the stream that Rhino and I were in, and then right before my eyes, it just went to hell. We couldn't do anything. Nothing was working well.
You can also look at it like this. I don't like doing comparative scores, but UNLV scored 27 on Houston. That's a good 11 points more than Oklahoma scored. Actually, 13 points more because one of them was a safety. Basically,
thank God for that safety.
Basically, the UNLV offense looked better than the Oklahoma offense.
Oh, 100. And then considering they scored over 70 points this yesterday,
Yeah, they
hell
did.
yeah, they look better than us. That was. I mean, again, man, that wasn't just bad. That was truly awful. There was nothing good. I mean, man, we ran for like, I think we ran for 60 something yards maybe total. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, our inability to run the football really started off this way last year too. I don't understand it at all.
Do y'all have co-offensive coordinators?
Yes.
I've never been a big fan of that. I'll be honest with you.
No,
Never have been a fan of that.
No, we have two co-offensive coordinators, Joe John Finley and Seth Luttrell. Apparently, Seth Luttrell is supposed to be the one who's essentially in control of the play calling for the most part, but Joe John can certainly, add plays and get plays called himself. He does have input that way, but I think the majority of the play calling comes from Seth in the press box. Joe John's on the field.
To put a silver lining on this, man, look, just like my Alabama fans, I try to tell them, look, I'm sure Notre Dame and Auburn would trade places with us today.
Yeah. No,
we look like crap winning, but at least we can complain about that, and we're both still undefeated. You've had your bad game. Maybe that's
right.
One of the mulligans. And like I said, they'll be super focused here going forward. I think it's going to be a little different.
You bring up a good point, because the reality is, if this was a few years ago under Lincoln, we lose that game because our defense couldn't have done what the defense was at least able to do yesterday for us. So, there's certainly improvements, but God, man, that offense was just a hot mess. So we got to see. There's no time, man. We got Tulane, and then we got Tennessee. I mean, it's on us, dude. It's right there. So
honest.
we have to come out and we have to play really well against Tulane this week. It's got to happen. That's the only chance we're going to have. If we come out and play like this against Tulane and, God forbid, lose that game and then have to turn around and play Tennessee at home the next week. I mean, I can't remember the last time we've lost 2 consecutive games at home. But that might happen.
That would be awful. I really do not want – I really don't want y'all to lose Tennessee, man. I'll be honest with you. As an Alabama fan, I know y'all don't want to either, but as an Alabama fan, I would hate for that to be y'all's first loss in the SEC. Shit be pinned on you, man. They'd be talking about that shit all the time, man. I know how Tennessee people are, man.
Well, it is what it is, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I'm at a loss, but I do think your point is a valid one. It's week 2. It's one bad game. They can obviously turn things around. And if they come out and play well against Tulane, then a lot of this talk, at least tempers down a little bit.
Yeah.
But
don't get mad. And I'm going to tell them right now, there's a lot of them that ain't going to understand that. And they think Tulane's still a G5 school and that y'all should blow them out. Don't get mad if y'all barely beat Tulane next week, because Kansas State lost to them last year and almost lost to them again this year. If y'all beat Tulane, be happy with beating Tulane.
Any win over after this weekend, any win over Tulane is a good win. I don't care if it's 1 point and it's 7-6 or 6-3. As long as we win, I'm happy.
So I hope y'all beat them. If y'all beat them like that, I hope it's at least 27-24, so that the offense looks like it showed some progression of some sort, or learned its lesson from what happened this past Saturday. Yeah. What do you think the main problems were?
With the main problems with what?
The offensive play calling. Was there? What was?
Oh, with Oklahoma's offensive play calling, it was Luttrell's. I mean, man, again, I don't know what the identity of the team is, but they couldn't you know how when you've got a young player or a player that's not playing great, they will put together a few plays that are, you know, plays that he's super comfortable with. You know, nothing too difficult, kind of easy throws to players he likes, just to get him in a rhythm. You know, they didn't the run game was man, they didn't do any kind of screens or tosses into the flats. They just ran the same damn thing right up the off tackle, and it just never worked. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with Gavin Sawchuk, who was supposed to be their best back. You know, Javante Barnes is a bruiser. I can appreciate that, but he can make one cut at best, and he does not seem to be able to really break plays. You know, he's got to have wide open holes if he's going to break a long run. The freshman, the number one running back in the country, looks really good as a running back, but he was pretty awful at pass protection. He had some really big misses, and so he only got one carry, went for 6 yards. But you might have to start giving that kid more looks, man, because you know that run game is just non-existent.
If y'all want to get your comment pushed to the top, we got almost 50 people in here now. I can't see all the comments, but if you want to get your comment pushed to the top, there's a little $money sign at the bottom. You can click on that, write your comment out, then click send, and it'll highlight and push to the top, and me and Killer Breeze will address it. But, you know, like I said, there's a lot of teams that would trade places with Alabama and Oklahoma. The big upsets last week was Notre Dame getting beat by Northern Illinois. By the way, I was messing around on the Saturday morning stream that I done and basically said that Notre Dame should watch out for Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
They struggle with them because they're coming off a big win against Texas A&M. And Northern Illinois has upset people in the past. I said that not knowing that Northern Illinois was going to actually beat them, man.
Yeah.
So I looked like Nostradamus. Everybody was blowing my DMs up saying, damn, man, you called that game against Northern Illinois.
Well, I saw a graphic that Northern Illinois became only the 4th team that has beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Oh wait, well, no, it wasn't out beat. Yeah, it was beat Notre. Oh goddamn, I can't remember the graphic now, but it was essentially Georgia, Oklahoma, Northern Illinois, and I think maybe Clemson. Is that right?
Well, they beat Alabama back in 2003. Northern Illinois. Northern
Illinois,
yeah, they beat us back in 2003 with Mike Shula. But they beat a top 5 team, man. They're ranked in the top 5, man.
Yeah, that's what it was. Programs that beat Notre Dame and Alabama at home.
Yeah, they beat Alabama and Notre Dame.
Yeah,
and Bryant Denny and Touchdown Jesus. That's a pretty impressive feat. But Notre Dame, Auburn got beat by Cal. Iowa got upset by Iowa State. Kansas got upset by Illinois, and Georgia Tech got upset. So I mean, there was a lot of upsets yesterday.
What do you think about that Auburn loss to Cal? I mean,
well, they were talking a lot of mad noise about Auburn. Even Saban was propping them up, saying how great their wide receivers were. But here's the thing: they don't have a quarterback. It don't matter how great your damn wide receivers are if you ain't got someone to throw it to them, right?
Yeah. He threw a lot of picks, didn't he?
It looks like the same old Auburn quarterback from last year. I mean, how do you lose to Cal at home, man? Cal is probably one of the worst Division I schools there is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a that was the only thing that gave me a little bit of hope that we might salvage one of the first 2 games in the SEC that we have, because we played Tennessee and then we play Auburn on the road. So maybe we'll get lucky, and Auburn will just be terrible, and we can hopefully get an advantage that way.
Chad White Eagle says he's got Wisconsin this weekend against Alabama. Well, that's fine, man. I mean, if you really think that Alabama's going to have 2 bad games in a row like that, we fumbled the ball 4 times, I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it because I'm an Alabama fan. I just think, and also I think we're putting too much into the fact that it's Wisconsin. Wisconsin hasn't looked good this year. If you watched Wisconsin play, they barely beat South Dakota. Now, that's not South Dakota State. That's South Dakota. So, and they struggled the week before that with Western Michigan. And usually Western Michigan's a different team, a decent team, but Ohio State beat that same team 56-0 yesterday. So you can put your money on Wisconsin if you want to. Hell, man, you can make a bet if you want.
No, the Big Ten, I mean, Penn State struggled too. I mean, what was the Penn State? Did they end up losing or did they pull it out?
Penn State struggled too. I forgot about that. Glad you brought that up. They struggled with Bowling Green. They were actually down in that game at one time. Yeah. And they come back and beat Bowling Green 34-27.
Yeah, so, I mean, it happens, I mean, you do have just bad days. Obviously, if Jackson can let loose and stop playing so tight, maybe things will turn around a little bit. But it's week 2, and there's a lot of teams, and I think Oklahoma is definitely one of them this year. Are use those first 3 games to figure stuff out, man.
It seems like it always happens after you have a big offensive game. Oklahoma scored 51 points first week.
Yeah,
Alabama scored 63, and both of them come back this week, and they're just not there, man. The focus is not there, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. I think that they're just young kids at the end of the day. And when they come out and whip ass like that in week 1, and they got another opponent the next week that might not even be as good as the first opponent they played, getting them to buckle down and understand that they can lose on any given Saturday is hard to do.
It really is. Just especially when you see the scoreboard, you see them get beat by UNLV by 20, and UNLV usually sucks. Obviously, they don't this year, but they usually suck. Now, this is no slight at UMax, Todd, because most people probably do this, but OU fans are talking bad about a close win. Bama won 42-16, and fans are talking bad about the 26-point win. Are we spoiled as fans? What you don't understand about the 42-16 win is Alabama got a lot of trash touchdowns at the end of the game where South Florida was basically rolling over and going for it on 4th down in their own territory. So that game really wasn't indicative. That score is not indicative of the game. It was 14-13 going into the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
So, that score is very misleading. So that's why a lot of Alabama fans have issue with what went down yesterday.
Well, LSU struggled with Nichols for a large part of that game too. That score is a little misleading as well.
There you go. It was 44-21. I was just like, damn, man. It just goes to show you maybe that USC win over LSU ain't that great if LSU's not that great,
Yeah.
I hope they work through it for you. But for Brian Kelly, I hope they shit the bed. I hate Brian Kelly, man.
I don't like Brian Kelly either, man. It's bothering me. I can't stand it. I never have been able to. I since he was at Cincinnati, I couldn't stand that guy. He's always acted like an idiot in many different ways, and things have not changed. The fake accent, just like how dumb do you think people are, man?
How about the Girl Scout pounding of the fist? I mean, he looked like a Girl Scout up there. You gotta stop that shit. It makes me so mad. I'm so mad. I'm distressed.
He did look a little girly.
Max Todd makes a good point. It's still a 26-point win. You do have to play all 4 quarters, and South Florida did not. They did play they played about 3.5 quarters. I mean, because with about with 5 minutes left to go in the game, it was 21-16. So that just shows you right there, man. It's just very misleading. Now, as an Alabama fan, I don't take any joy in that 42-16 win.
Yeah, it's hard to feel good about it. That's why, like, it's a weird thing to be not feeling good after a win, but that's some all wins are not created equal. And when you have, like Robert Bacon, this comment here saying that Oklahoma might not make a bowl game. That was the worst offensive performance I've seen in 25 years. That's a legitimate concern. And they have a hard road ahead, man. I'm not gonna lie, dude. It just keeps getting harder and harder and harder as you go through the season.
So let me ask you this, man. Since you brought it up,
this could be so bad, man.
If Oklahoma, for some reason, if the sky falls in Norman and y'all go 5-7 this year, will that get Brent Venables fired?
No, he won't get fired after 5-7. But
what about you people in the comment section?
But here's the thing:
if Brent Venables goes 5-7, do y'all fire Brent Venables?
They won't fire him. Whether the fans want, the fans will. The fans
I'm
will.
that's what I'm saying. I just want them to vote. And if they would y'all fire him for going 5-7 as a fan?
I think many of them would say yes to that, probably. But
let me stir that shit up.
But here's the thing. He won't get fired after 5-7. He won't get fired after this year, no matter what. It just won't happen. He's gonna win a couple more games. It might only be a couple more, but like it doesn't even matter. He's got 2 already. Even if he goes 4-8, he's not getting fired.
I mean, hell, look at Vanderbilt, man.
But the problem is this. Here's the problem, though, and this is a real problem for him. I will say this: he may not get fired, but if his recruiting takes a hit and he can't bring in the kind of talent that he's successfully brought in up to this point, because in a few spots the defense is really in great positions, like the safety room, the linebacker room, the defensive line is getting there. But if God forbid we start losing, like if we lose the 5-star offensive tackle or the other guy that should be a 5-star, Foji, if we start losing commits and we can't recruit as well because of what's going on the field, I don't know that Brent Venables will survive. I mean, I don't know that he'll make it because he might get another year or two. But if he can't bring in the talent, the reason why I believe in Venables is because so far he's been bringing in great talent. The offensive line is en route to being better. It's not going to be this year probably, but they've got some good talent coming in, and they can still add more talent. But man, if they can't recruit well, then I don't know if Venables will survive.
Let's go ahead and glance at next week's schedule. Here on Friday night, this is an interesting game to me suddenly. UNLV's playing Kansas, and Kansas just lost to Illinois, and UNLV's looking really good. If UNLV beats Kansas in Kansas, maybe UNLV is that G5 school that gets in the playoffs. You think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do. I think it's very possible.
And then Arizona plays at Kansas State. That'll be a good game. Both of those teams are ranked in the top 20. They both struggled last week. Now, Oklahoma State is playing at Tulsa, but they're now projecting Oklahoma State to be in the playoffs from CBS. When I was looking at the projected playoffs, they got Oklahoma State making the playoffs now since they beat Arkansas.
I did also
Arkansas was the bottom of the rung kind of team. I can't believe they got them projected for the playoffs already.
I did call Oklahoma State on your show last week.
That's right.
I was surprised. Well, I thought it was a good sign for them that they were able to come back from being down early in that game, because Arkansas
they played decent defense too. So
yeah, Arkansas in the beginning of that game was kicking their ass, and Oklahoma State was able to get through that. I mean, man, there's times when I feel like Gundy's a pretty good coach, but he just does dumb shit.
Yeah, he opens his mouth and says some of the dumbest shit, man.
He really
He
does.
turns
Like the
people
weird
against
stuff
him,
he
man.
does with his hair.
He's so wishy-washy, man. He won't stand up for himself sometimes when it comes to certain political matters that aggravate the piss out of me. Like the whole OAN shirt shit where he bowed down to Chubba Hubba, man. That shit turned me against him for real.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting game. Memphis is playing at Florida State. Memphis, I think, is undefeated. They're one of the better G5 schools. But what's interesting about it is that's Mike Norvell's former team. He was the head coach at Memphis before he went to Florida State.
I didn't think about that. You're right. I mean, Florida, if you're a Florida State fan, you got to be feeling similar to Oklahoma fans probably. Like, you're looking at this thing going, it's going to be rough for us to
Florida
have a win.
State's got a lot bleaker outlook than Oklahoma. At least y'all still undefeated. They're 0-2, man. They're winless.
No, that's right. And again, I don't know that it's going to get a whole lot better for them.
If they lose to Mike Norvell's former team, man, he may be fired after this week. He may be fired before the end of September.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And this has suddenly turned into a good game. LSU's playing at South Carolina. South Carolina surprised everybody. They went into Kentucky and just beat the brakes off of them 31-6. After they struggled with Old Dominion the first week. So everybody thought South Carolina was shit. And then they come back after a bad showing against us, an inferior team. They come back with focus, like me and you've been talking the whole show. And what happens? They have focus, and they come back and they beat the hell out of Kentucky on the road.
And Beamer is on the hot seat. So that was a clutch win for them and an impressive win.
Think LSU loses this game in Carolina?
I'm not sure. LSU's another team. I'm just not so sure how good they really are. I mean, I just don't know. South Carolina being at home, maybe that's enough to get them a close win.
Wouldn't bode well for LSU the rest of the year if they lose that game to South Carolina.
Well, we have to play both of them, so that's what I'm saying, man.
LSU loses to South Carolina, man. They could have a really long season.
Yeah, it could be a long road to hoe for a few of us.
Alabama goes on the road to play Wisconsin. How much trouble do you think we'll have with Wisconsin? Do you think Wisconsin has a chance to upset us?
No, I think they have no chance. None.
Now,
I think Alabama's roll this year.
Butch Jones, who's the coach at Arkansas State, now has them undefeated, and they're going into the big house. Wouldn't that be some shit if Arkansas State upset Michigan?
You know what, man? I wouldn't be. Butch Jones is a good coach, man.
I think he is too. I think he gets too much flack, man. He was in a bad situation at Tennessee with Phil Foreman in the Monsters, man.
There was a time when I would have been real happy to have Butch Jones come to Oklahoma when Lincoln was there. I would have. Butch Jones is just good. I mean, he's good.
You see,
but yeah, I think the other one is Oregon. Man, they've been tiptoeing. In what do they call that game between Oregon and Oregon State?
Civil
War. Thank you. The Oregon being on the road at Oregon State, they've been kind of struggling. Maybe this is.
They do play them this week, don't they? Because used to they played them at the end of the year because they're different. They're in different conferences now. I forgot about that game.
Yeah.
But if you see any comments that are worthy of talking about in the comment section, or if someone that makes a donation, let me know because I got the screen blocked where I can't see it.
Okay.
Boston College has suddenly become a decent team after they win over Florida State. But we saw what happened with Georgia Tech. They lost to Syracuse. They play Missouri at Missouri.
Missouri up in the rankings, of course I want to see Missouri lose. I would love to see that.
You got to root for the SEC, man.
I didn't see. Yeah, I know. I got to get used to that. I didn't see.
Don't worry, I don't root
I
for
haven't
Auburn.
seen Boston College. I haven't seen Boston College play. What'd you say?
I don't root for Auburn or Tennessee, so don't feel bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I went to LSU, so I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Well, actually, it was a long ass time ago. I'm old as hell. But anyway, I just haven't seen Boston College play, so I just don't know exactly how good they are. Did you watch? Have you watched them play at all?
Yeah, I watched them beat Florida State at Doak Campbell, but it's Florida State now. Florida State's not that good. But earlier, I didn't realize this till I was going over the poll, man. Can you believe that 6 of the 7 teams are SEC teams? I've never seen that happen.
That has never happened before. That's the first time in the AP history. I actually read about that earlier today. 6 of the top 7. If it wasn't for Ohio State, it'd be a straight run. And once again, anyone that wants to argue about the best conference there's one more example of why it's not close. It's the SEC and then everybody else. If you want to put the Big Ten at their own little level between the Big 12 and the ACC, okay, fine, but they're not on the same level. I mean, think about Alabama looks good. Georgia looks good. Tennessee looks good, man. Texas looked good against Michigan.
Right.
I mean, SEC's got some really good teams, and Missouri might be pretty good. It's possible.
That's why I tell people that bitch about us only playing 8 SEC games. I'm like, well, we need to have room enough to be able to play the Wisconsins and the USCs. Y'all want us to play tougher games, but then y'all don't want us to play a tough non-conference game. I mean, if we give up one of our non-conference games for an SEC game, then it's just going to make it harder for us to schedule tough non-conference teams at that point.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the SEC for us to beat up on each other. Y'all just want us to beat up on each other because y'all can't beat us.
Don't you think the 9-game schedule is inevitable, though? I mean, don't you think it's coming?
It is, but don't get mad when Alabama, instead of playing Wisconsin, they play Prairie View A&M or something like that.
Whatever. I mean, that's fair.
Because you need that. Everybody says we need to quit playing cupcakes, but you sort of need those games to try to get some of your third and fourth string players some playing time.
Oh, and get some people healed up. Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of a bye week.
And it's a nice experience for those players on that team that never would get to play in a historical stadium.
Right. No, that's right. Yeah, I think the 9-game schedule is inevitable, and if that's the consequence of it, then that's fine. Whatever.
Now, if everybody does away with cupcake games, I'm fine with that. We can all just play 12 tough-ass games, just like they do in the NFL. You don't have a week off in the NFL. Even the shittiest team in the NFL can beat you on a given Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just like the rules
right.
any given Sunday. I see it happen all the time.
Right.
Where a freaking 2-10 NFL team beats a 10-2 team. It happens all the time.
Yeah, no, that's right. Let's see who else you got on that schedule.
All right, well, we got West Virginia and Pittsburgh in the backyard brawl. Kuz is probably foaming at the mouth over that one, but Pittsburgh's undefeated. They were down 27-6.
They were down, yeah. They came back and won that game. I saw that.
Couldn't believe that. Washington State looked good against Texas Tech. They play Washington. Washington since they lost everybody.
Yeah.
Texas A&M's at Florida. That's a make or break game for both of those programs.
Well, and I didn't see, how did Florida look this past weekend?
Well, they played Samford, and they beat them 45-7.
Which I guess is all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think Billy Napier is really a horrible coach, but he's certainly not. I mean, things are not going great for him in Florida. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's probably one of those situations where the right job at the wrong time kind of deal.
No, I think that's right.
Notre Dame plays at Purdue. You watch, Notre Dame did this a few years back when they lost to Marshall. They turned around and beat a Power 5 school after they lost to Marshall. It would not surprise me if Notre Dame beat Purdue this week. Although I think it'd be funny if they lost to Purdue because, Purdue's their in-state rival. I think that'd be pretty funny. Never been a big fan of Marcus Freeman either. I've never been sold on that hire, to be honest with you.
Well, he hasn't given you any reason to be sold on it yet. He's been inconsistent at best. So, they got to do a lot more to prove how good they are or how legitimate they are.
Robert Bacon says Dylan Gabriel is not a championship quarterback. Forget Oregon winning the Big Ten. I don't know about all that. We'll see.
I will say this. If you're an Oregon fan, you got to be a little worried too, because Dan Lanning, while I would just like with BV, Dan Lanning seems to be doing all the right things, saying all the right things, building the right kind of program, and putting in the right kind of culture and really having everyone buy in on it. And they've kind of come out of the gate stumbling as well. That's got to be a little concerning considering how many people had such high expectations for Oregon.
Yeah, everybody thought Oregon might win the Big Ten this year.
That's right.
Now they're not thinking that. They struggled against Idaho, and then they struggled last week against Boise. Struggling 1 week happens to a lot of teams, just like it did Alabama and Oklahoma this week. But if you struggle 2 or 3 weeks in a row, there's something wrong.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Chemistry or something. Something's not clicking. So
I think
Dylan Gabriel may not be a good fit there. Whereas at Oklahoma, he was a good fit. And I said this 100 times, man. If Dylan Gabriel doesn't come to Oklahoma, Oklahoma may not win but 3 or 4 games that first year.
I was screaming that from the mountain tops, at last year. I mean, we would have been screwed if Dylan Gabriel wouldn't have come.
You realize Vanderbilt plays Georgia State this week. They'll probably still be undefeated. Vanderbilt may be having Texas into Nashville with both of them being undefeated. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Texas is like 2-8 against Vanderbilt all time.
Yeah. A lot of those
they used to beat up on them back in the 19 teens.
Yeah, a lot of those were a long time ago, but still funny nonetheless. But that's just because Texas is not a blue blood. And that's part of the reason why.
Georgia plays at Kentucky. That should be an easy win for Georgia, but you go and say that and then watch Kentucky give them a good game.
Yeah, probably. As the way to go.
I mean, you get me to cussing. You can't let South Carolina. You can let South Carolina beat you, man, but you can't let them beat you by 25 points in your own field, man.
Oh, absolutely not.
Come on, if you got beat by 25 in Columbia, I might have understood it, but damn, man. And then you're gonna have Georgia in the next week to follow that shit up.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That don't bode too well for Kentucky, I don't think. Mark Stoops may be running into some troubles pretty soon. Indiana's playing at UCLA. By the way, I think Indiana's actually undefeated right now.
Yeah, they didn't look bad. So I saw some highlight film of their game. Actually, they kind of looked pretty good.
Against who? Who they playing?
I don't remember who they were playing.
I can't remember. It was actually somebody that was decent, and they beat them up pretty good.
Yeah, they put it on them.
Colorado's playing at Colorado State now. I know Texas blew them out, but Colorado State righted the ship last week and beat I think it was Northern Colorado. But last year, Colorado State, they had them beat last year, and they let them win that game in Colorado. So
I think it's where's that game being played?
at Colorado State.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
Don't-
thinking
don't-
maybe that would be great if Colorado State upset Colorado.
Upset alert. I might take the money line on that game and play Colorado State.
It says it's on CBS, 7:30 p.m.
Is Colorado has to be favored, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But
What's the line on that game?
Colorado can't go around believing that, Texas beat them 52-0. It should be easy. Y'all not Texas. So
Outlaw Posse. Somebody give us the line on the Colorado game. What's the money line and what's the spread? Somebody's got to be able to get that for us.
Air Force plays Baylor, Kent State, Tennessee. Not a whole lot of great games this week, to be honest with you.
Now Baylor didn't look good at all either.
North Carolina making the rounds on in-state schools. They played Charlotte last week. Now they're playing North Carolina Central. If you can't beat North Carolina State, I guess that's what you need to do.
I guess.
I guess North Carolina State beat them last year in football. Then there's that Tulane versus Oklahoma game.
I'm very concerned, man. I'm very concerned.
3:30 p.m. on ESPN. Have you got DirecTV or AT&T Uverse? What do you got?
I have a streaming service that I use that I get everything.
Okay, because
So I will watch
there's a big dust up right now with DirecTV and AT&T Uverse. Nobody can watch games right now.
Yeah, man. I actually got away from cable. You can usually find someone that, from what I understand, they basically just got a bunch of different versions of what I've got, depending on who you get it from. But you can usually find someone that'll sell a streaming service where they'll like load it onto like a Fire Stick or a NVIDIA Shield, and it'll basically give you all of the live TV stations and cable, like the network stuff, ABC, CBS, Fox, and it'll have all the ESPN and everything, and movie channels and all that shit. It'll have everything, including pay-per-view with all the fights. And I pay like $20 a month, man. I mean, I was on DirecTV and AT&T Uverse for probably 20 years consecutively, with DirecTV first and then AT&T Uverse. And they suck compared to what I've got now. But it's streaming, so you got to have, good internet.
You done froze up.
If you got, I've been frozen for a while. If you got good internet, it's the best, man.
Max Todd said that Colorado is 7.5 favorite. On the road. That's on the road.
Colorado's 7.5.
Yeah, on
What's
the
the
road.
money line? What's the money line?
Money line's plus 215.
I'm all over Colorado State.
See, I'm not a real big bettor, so I don't understand some of this stuff sometimes. I know what the 7.5 is, but what is the plus 215? What's that mean?
So that basically means if you bet $100, you're gonna win 215. So you could bet 50 and win 107.50. And that's if it was minus 250. So Colorado is minus 215 or something like that. They're gonna be minus something, which means you got to bet 200 to win 100. So, but that's straight up. The money line, there's no point spread. So you're just betting on who's going to win the game straight up.
That's right.
And then obviously with spread, that comes into play with the final score.
So now I understand. If I decide I want to bet, me and my son have gotten where we bet on some UFC fights. And we've been using this site called Bovado because DraftKings, they don't allow them to place bets here in the state of Alabama. So we have to find somebody else to undermine that shit because Alabama state law doesn't allow gambling because they're a bunch of idiots. But
Texas doesn't either.
It's stupid, man. If people want to bet, let them bet. If they want to go to the strip bar, let them go to the strip bar. It's just like here in Tuscaloosa County, man. We don't have no strip bars.
Yeah.
Y'all just losing money to Jefferson County up the street, man. It's like with the casinos over Mississippi. You're just losing money to Mississippi by not having a casino here.
Yep. That's 100% right.
But I think they do it on purpose because I think the state of Mississippi gives the Alabama politicians kickbacks so that we don't have casinos, so that we have to come over there.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
Get me
That's
into
100%.
politics now, boy.
Yeah, that's 100% true. You better believe that shit.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming in and helping me
All
out.
right, man.
I was struggling, and we are at the 2-hour mark, so I think I'm going to cut it off now.
All right, brother. Well, y'all have a good one, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
Later.
All right, later. That was Killer Breeze, the consummate roughneck, former roughneck for the University of Oklahoma, and a graduate of LSU. That's right. But I appreciate y'all coming in here tonight. If y'all got any more topics you want me to touch on real quick, I'll be more than happy to do that. You can also make a small donation to the program with a money dollar sign at the bottom if you want to get a question in real quick. I'll try to answer that question to the best of my ability. And if y'all got any ideas for shows in the future, if anybody in here wants to be on the show, contact me on Twitter, aka X, at OCF Productions. You can hit me up in DMs, or you can find me on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark. That's spelled Jesse without the I. Everybody tries to stick that I in there. It's Jesse. Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook. Hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and we'll talk, and we'll see if you being on the show is something that we both feel comfortable with. Just let me know, and I'll get y'all on the show. Chad McKeegan's in the house. I haven't seen that name before, so I just want to holler at you, Chad. Colorado brought a pillow to a fist fight. That is true. And usually you bring a pillow, you get your ass knocked the hell out. Although, like I said, Nebraska could have done a little bit better in the second half at putting that game away than just, pulling the horses and running out the time. I would have been more happier had they added at least probably one or two more touchdowns. 35-10 or 42-10 would have been much, much more pleasing to the eyes. Che White Eagle says, thanks for the therapy, Outlaw. Max Todd's still in the house. He says, see, a great show. And he gives us a Roll Tide. It's about time I get some of my fellow Roll Tiders up here. How you like my championship belt over there, Max? All right, brothers and sisters, it's been fun. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you don't mind, share me out to your friends. We're almost to 5,000 subscribers. That'll be a great milestone. And YouTube will probably help push me more and get me some more sponsors to help me keep this show going. So share me out to your friends. Get them to subscribe. All that stuff's free. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. But you can also be in the Outlaw Posse and get a badge like Fred Bagley has right there, as you can see. It's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. 75 cents a week. There's a little join button next to subscribe button. You'll get a badge. You'll get deputized. And you'll get a random Four Horsemen shout out on the actual podcast, maybe even in here at times, as well as possibly be the comment of the day. KMCA to all the other teams, class is now officially dismissed.